Welcome back to the Darkercide podcast. This is a podcast where we delve into the darker side of our existences. The morbid, the macabre, the spooky, and the absurd are all fair game as we discuss murder, UFOs, cryptids, creepypasta, and the paranormal. I'm your host, David POTTLE, and as always, my co-host, Forrest Smith. What's going down, Forrest?
Hey guys, not much. This is just I'm just excited.
Sweet, man. Me too. Everybody's excited. Coming back onto the podcast, we have Rachel.
Hey guys.
How are you doing, dear?
I'm doing great.
Very awesome.
Glad to be back again. Thank
Yay.
you. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're back.
We love having Rachel. Our special guest tonight is super special.
Special guest.
The wonderful, talented beer master and researcher extraordinaire, John Herrmann.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Hey, how's it going?
John.
Good to be here.
Welcome to the podcast, man.
I'm glad to have you.
Oh, thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, cheers.
Yeah, right. Cheers.
Everybody. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get into our first news story here. I've got a news story that I found on livescience.com. The news story headline goes, 2 pilots in different planes saw the same UFO. The FAA can't explain it.
What?
Yeah. So,
Is this recent?
yeah, this was as of the other day.
Very
wow.
recent?
March 28, 2018.
Interesting.
It says 2 airplane pilots spotted a mysterious reflective object hovering some 40,000 feet over southern Arizona last month, and the Federal Aviation Administration is stumped. According to radio transmissions between the befuddled pilots and air traffic controllers, which you can listen to in full thanks to the FAA recordings through this link here.
Cool.
The sighting occurred around 3:30 p.m. local time on February 24th, somewhere over Sonora Desert. Is it Sonoran?
The Sonoran, yeah.
Sonoran Desert near Phoenix. Was anybody above that passed us like 30 seconds ago? The first pilot asked while flying a Lear jet west towards California. Negative, air traffic controller at the FAA's Albuquerque Air Traffic Center in New Mexico answered. Okay. The pilot responded, something did. The object, whatever it was flying high, at least a few thousand feet above the jet, which was cruising at an altitude around 37,000 feet. It was about 11,000 meters up. The News Times reported, a few minutes later, the FAA asked another nearby flight, an American Airlines Airbus traveling in the same direction, to keep an eye out for anything passing over in the desert. The confused pilot agreed, and sure enough, within a few minutes, the Airbus crew saw the same mysterious object flying over the plane. Yeah, something just passed over us, the Airbus pilot reported. I couldn't make it out, whether it was a balloon or what, but it had a big reflection on it, and it was several thousand feet above us, going in the opposite direction. Several weeks later, authorities are still stumped as the object's origin. Beyond these 2 pilot reports, the FAA couldn't verify any other aircraft were around it. Likely wasn't a Google balloon, the FAA reported, nor the weather balloon or military craft. We have a close working relationship with a number of other agencies, and safety handles military aircraft and civilian aircraft, all types in this area every day, including high-altitude weather balloons, an FAA representative told the news. So basically, within minutes of each other, these 2 pilots saw the same object. Now,
What?
and it's traveling at a speed that something normally, like in water, like a weather balloon, probably isn't traveling at.
No.
Especially
Oh, no.
within those distances. And then,
Has anybody ever seen a fucking weather balloon?
No,
honestly.
no.
Honestly. Do we use weather balloons
no,
anymore?
Forrest and I saw something out here this summer, and
We did.
we thought it was a balloon
It was
going up,
weird.
but it was not acting like a balloon, and it didn't act like a balloon at all. It was highly reflective.
We
though.
saw it take off.
It was highly reflective, and like it just didn't move like a weather balloon, and it was crazy. But yeah, no. The report comes just a few months after the former Pentagon official revealed that the government has been quietly running an official UFO detection program since 2007. An investigation into the program by the New York Times turned up striking footage taken by 2 Navy fighter pilots. You saw this footage, right? Did you see the footage of the video that they put out on this where fighter jet pilots and people on the ground were confirming that that this object was there?
When was this?
This was within like 2 months ago that they put this video out. Did you hear anything about that?
I think you showed me the video.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this was officially released by the U.S. government.
You know, eventually they're not going to be able to cover up these sightings.
Everybody's got a camera.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be
Yeah.
Facebook Live at some point in time.
Oh, gosh. Of course.
It's crazy. And it says reports like these may be more common than you imagine, according to the National UFO Reporting Center, an online database of alleged UFO sightings. Alleged. I love that word had to go into that. Alleged UFO sightings in America. There have been nearly 650 UFO sightings reported so far in 2000. 2018.
650.
Yeah, already in America within 2018.
So what's neat is they're all tracked. If you go to the MUFON website, the Mutual UFO Network. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if you go to their website, they list every single one that's been tracked. I haven't paid the money yet, but if you do, you can actually click on the links and see what they're all about.
Yeah, they want their membership, obviously, because with money they can do more research and they can get people involved. There's a gentleman who's he's a researcher for the Astonishing Legends. Yeah, he's now the MUFON head of research, which is cool, and he just started off as a basic member.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fun. However, websites advise many of the news reports have been submitted by individuals who elect to remain anonymous. Again, that's the thing. Total anonymity in these reportings. If you can't get a person behind it, then people aren't going to use that as research information. If you can't openly admit that you saw something, then they can't use it as proof.
Right.
So people, if you've seen something, tell people and give your name.
There's a stigma there, though, right? I mean, if you're running around saying that you saw little green men, everyone's going to think you're batshit nuts.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and especially with jobs on the line, reputations on the line, it's just absolutely. I mean, you would think that if you saw something like that, you would want people to know about it.
People are just the other problem too. I hate to say this, I really do, is that people are so worried about labels.
Yeah, I mean, you're a kook. Now, I've seen stuff. I'll admit that I have seen stuff that I cannot explain, whether it be a UFO or a ghost or some sort of paranormal thing. I've seen stuff that I just can't possibly explain with science and modern logic.
You can't.
I mean, you've experienced it. Everybody here has had those moments.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But the cool thing about this article is, again, it's 2 airplane pilots within minutes of each other reporting this through the FAA. And I mean, I think that these types of stories are going to get more predominant probably now that the government is admitted that it had a UFO program and that they're actually giving us video and audio footage of these experiences.
Was that under the Obama administration?
No, it was Trump. This was just recently that they released these videos.
No way.
It was in February.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's not my news story. Forrest, you've got another little more darker news story apparently. So again, guys, this is called the Darkercide podcast. So.
Yeah, keep in mind it's very it is pretty graphic and very sensitive.
Yeah, if you want, just breeze through it versus give us all the details. I would say.
So story goes to I'm getting it from CBS News, October 17th, 2017. Mother charged in children's death placed them in oven, police say.
Yeah.
So let's go to where. In Fulton County, Georgia, a mother charged with killing her 2 young sons knowingly and intentionally caused their deaths by placing them in an oven and turning it on, according to an arrest warrant obtained by CBS Atlanta affiliate WGCL TV. My daughter is a sick person if she did what I think she did, is what the mother of 24-year-old Lamora Williams had to say about her daughter.
So this one's lady's Lamore.
Yeah.
Sorrow for the lost Lamore.
It's very apparent that this is Georgia, you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you guys remember that freezer lady in like the late 80s put her children in like a freezer in the backyard?
Oh my
in
God.
Georgia.
It was seriously?
Yeah.
That's something about Georgia. The
Fucking
Simpsons make a
Georgia.
reference to it. What about that freezer lady in Georgia?
Whoa.
They make a lot of entertainment in Georgia, too. That's deeper into this story. Wearing dark sunglasses to hide her tears. Brenda Williams is saddened,
Brenda.
but not surprised.
Brenda.
God damn it, Brenda. That her daughter is now charged with murder.
Hold on, so she's not surprised? Then why were the kids in this mother's care? If the grandma was so concerned,
Yeah.
she should have stepped in and taken these kids away
That's
from
it.
her.
Quite a bit of ways ago.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a little bit of time in the past. This intervention or these.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. That's awful.
It is awful.
I know, we're awful. We're all going to hell.
So what happened to these kids? I mean, did she like burn them in the oven? Did she kill them prior to putting them in the oven?
I will get to that.
All right, cool.
She is, I know it's a little long, I'm sorry. She's quoting, so let me start. Maura wasn't right. She hasn't She hasn't been right in what happened 3 months ago, that the kid's father left her. I told him something tragic is going to happen. She's going to do something to those kids. She's going to do something to herself, said Brenda Williams, which I think is the mother, right? That's
the mother of, the kid's grandmother.
So can we just say that if you're worried that someone is going to do something to somebody else, or they're going to hurt themselves, there's a million different ways you can reach out and get help.
Oh, well, yeah, 100%, dude. I mean, it's
suicide hotlines too. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody
drink.
Oh.
If we're playing a new game where every time Forrest says "I'm not gonna lie," we all have to take a drink.
Gotta drink.
So play along at home.
Oh my god, you guys get me all drunked up.
All right. So. There are so many ways that you could. I mean, this mother, if she had a concern about her child, she should have either got herself involved or DFS.
Or contact the proper authorities.
Yeah, whoever the authorities are in Georgia, exactly, to at least look in on these children.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's sad. Oh, you knew, but why didn't you do anything about it?
Yeah.
You're just as accountable for this situation if you're not doing anything. You said you care about these kids. You didn't want her to have these kids, or you thought that they were going to be in trouble. You should have done something.
So you're complicit in a crime.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
I'm not going to lie, though. I think it is a double-edged sword.
Not going to lie. Drink again.
Fuck.
All right. What were you going to say now for us?
Oh, that's loud.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it was a good shot. It's kind of a double-edged sword, mainly for the fact that, for example, if the grandmother does something drastic, violently towards her, then you have to deal with the justice system that way. And, of course, in some cases, the justice system is wrong.
Well, I mean, even if
but
I think the grandmother at this point would have intervened, and then the daughter did go, well, she's mean, and she called the police and everything else. At least the grandmother would then be able to.
She should have spoke up and done something.
Can tell the authorities why she was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, if you wanted to go in an indirect route, but yeah.
Yep.
So keep going.
Okay, so investigators said the 2 toddlers who died had burns on their bodies when they responded to the scene at the Oakland City West End apartments in Atlanta. Plus, they removed a stove from the apartment.
Yeah, so I guess that's why.
Evidence.
The stove.
Oh, here we go. I got more info. I reported her to DFACS, Division of Family and Child Services.
Oh, she did. Well, good.
At one point in time, once her father had died, and I tell DFACS everything because I either wanted them to give me the kids or get the kids out of her possession, because at one time I thought she was just going nuts, not feeding them, said the toddler's grandmother.
So she did try.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was I mean, if she's not feeding her kids, I mean, that's a good thing that we're going to report them
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. Kids should eat. They got to eat.
I believe you do have to feed them to keep them alive.
Yeah, we have a 5-year-old who, yes, we feed him quite good and well, and they need all that to survive.
I can't imagine how adults get when they don't eat and when they're hungry. I can't imagine the kids getting that way when they're hungry. I mean, it's a lot.
Well, especially when they're developing like that, and then it hinders so much of their mental and physical development.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't learn as fast. They don't learn. Well, they can't learn because they don't have enough energy in their body to process information and grow. But did the mother? What happened to the mother? I know.
So
it's okay, Herman. You can cry.
It's fucking dark. I know. Lamora Williams' family said she struggled most of her life with mental issues and may have been dealing with postpartum at the time of the incident. Postpartum depression.
Yes.
Well, I mean, Rachel's the only one who can talk about
it. I've been through it twice.
I can't talk about it.
It's you want to kill everyone around you, and you don't care. You don't care. Yeah. It's the lowest low that you can get.
My mom told me she wanted to choke herself on soap in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It happens, and it's real, and not many people talk about it.
Now, is it an extreme hormonal swing and imbalance?
Of course it is.
After...
Oh, God. Well,
I can't imagine. I just can't.
A baby just shot out of your hoo-ha. I mean, of course there's going to be some hormonal imbalance.
Well, I mean, for 9 months you're building up this giant well of hormones.
God.
And oh, God, I couldn't imagine.
Well, not only that, there's the lack of sleep, which we've talked about before, about sleep deprivation and how that can cause hallucinations and other mental psychoses. So, I mean, it's
A sad part was that she told me that after she had me, the middle child. But it's all right. She told me when I was like 18 or 17. I was like,
you're already.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure Rachel's not going to tell our 5-year-old son, "Hey."
Oh, I totally will. I can't wait to rub it in their faces.
At least wait till he's 16, bro. It's your decision. But...
Now, how does this article end for us?
Okay, so going forward, Lamora Williams' family said she struggled most of her... Oh, I said that already. It's a tragedy which her sister thinks could have been prevented.
Well, I think we all believe that.
Oh, yeah. That's apparent.
Quoting Tabitha, I think she's a sister, she had issues, and the fact that the state failed her, that's a problem, said Tabitha Hollingworth. I'm guessing that's her sister?
Well, I don't think they failed her. I think they failed the children.
Oh, God.
The children are the true...
Exactly.
They're the ones that are the most affected. Obviously, they're no longer here with us on this beautiful planet of ours.
Well, we just had a discussion about this.
Yep.
Kids fall through the cracks constantly, and unfortunately, these two were a pair of them.
The funding goes back to DC. It's so sad.
It's crazy to think that like, again, we were just having a talk about this, that, like, these are the kids of our world. This is the future of our world, and we don't necessarily give enough funding and efforts to make sure that these kids are able to survive in this world.
It's very sad.
It sucks. I mean, again, not to be political about this, but as we were talking, that the fetus inside your uterus is more important to them than the baby that comes out afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we could talk about that in length at a very different.
So I mean, that's it's not pro-life; it's pro-pregnancy.
Right. So that's basically the gist of that story, and I think we should definitely move on.
It's a very deep story. I'm sorry.
Wait. But did the kids make it?
Did I get that on film? I think I got that on film.
Oh, good Lord.
I hope so. I hope I got that on film.
Oh, good Lord.
I think I got that on film.
Good, because wow. Awesome. All right, guys. Again, the Darkercide.
Oh, fuck.
This is what we do. This is the shit that we bring to your lives. We bring the creepy and the horrible. Speaking of creepy, y'all want to get into Creepy Pasta Corner?
Oh, hell yeah.
Excellent. So I've got a quick one. Last episode 1 was long.
It was good, though.
I get a little frustrated reading it because I didn't. Yeah. I thought it was manageable, and eventually it became. I'm so glad I finished the story because
the build-up was very long.
Very long, but it was a great payoff. I was like, this is good. This is good. But I'm going to keep this one
nice
and short today. This creepypasta right here is called Instant Messaging.
Oh, God. Uh-oh. There's not many horror movies about that crap.
No, but it's pretty creepy. It's creepypasta.
All right, let's get to it. I want to hear it.
It all started on the 14th night of March, the night my parents' 20th wedding anniversary. It was a wonderful sunny day, if memory serves, surprisingly warm and before the beginning of spring. Beautiful weather was perfect for the atmosphere of the day. Being married for 20 years is obviously a monumentous occasion, so my parents had booked a table at our favorite Italian restaurant. Of course, this was a formal occasion, so I had my best suit on. It was 5:53, and I was just straightening my tie when my phone went off. I'd received a message. That's strange, I thought. It never happens. I checked the message. It was from my mom. It was quite a jumble of numbers and letters, but through the vocabulary stew, I could make out one legible phrase. Please help me. It should go without saying that this worried me greatly, so I immediately replied, "Are you okay?" Just as instantly, I got another text which read, "Oops, pocket text." I sighed with all the relief I had and continued to prepare myself. A few minutes later, I received another message, this time from my dad. I checked the text, and once again, it was a massive mixture of letters and numbers and the phrase, "Please help me," concealed within. Creepy. Though this was, my dad was always a joker, so I presumed it was just joking around until I was sent another text saying, "Oops, pocket text." Now this sparked panic, pure, unmistakable panic. Exactly half a minute passed when I received the exact same 2 messages from my sister. This could not be coincidental. It just couldn't. In a state of sheer anxiety, I started to run to the restaurant. I made it about a quarter of the way before I stopped by the police officer. Main road's closed, he said. Huge car crash. This was the exact moment I realized just what had happened. I demanded to see the wreckage and requested, which I was surprised was allowed. When I got there, It wasn't the remains of the car that caught my eye, nor the flames billowing from the destroyed vehicle. No, I was horrified to see the lifeless corpses of my mother, father, and sister. I asked for the estimated times of their death. All three of them were killed instantly by a collision at 5:32, a minute before the very first text.
Ooh, creepy.
The hell?
That is creepy. I'm just getting the chills right now. Every time I read the last line of each one of these, I'm like, chill runs up my spine. But I mean, okay, you're getting ready for your parents' 20th anniversary, and then you get this weird encrypted text from your mother.
Fuck.
And then a minute later, you get the same one from your father. Oops, pocket dial.
What's with the oops pocket dial?
I think it's to kind of throw them off.
But who's sending these text messages?
God. The devil.
Could be the devil.
Some sort of crazy entity. I don't know. Or the ghosts of his parents from a few minutes earlier.
Is he gonna put that on their tombstones?
I realize, Mom, oops, pocket dial.
I'm not gonna lie, I've seen some of these.
Drink!
Everybody drink.
Oh my god, you guys.
I'm not gonna lie.
This is a fun game.
It is a fun game. I hope we include this in the final podcast. And I hope we include that statement in the final podcast.
He's not gonna lie.
He's not gonna lie. Alright, everybody, he's not gonna lie.
I really want to look more into these stories because I find some of these on Facebook and I'm just like, wow, these are fucking crazy.
What, the creepypasta type stories?
Yeah, but it's like instant messenger or you're just texting a friend and it's like these live texts and you're just they talk about the weirdest shit happening and then at the end of the video the person texting dies or whatever.
Huh.
Or goes missing. I don't know. It's weird stories, but I know there's a lot out there.
Well, I mean, there's a root to every type of craziness, especially these creepypastas.
I gotta look more into that.
What were you saying? The creepypasta was a copypasta, Rachel?
Copypasta.
Yep, that's what the phrase creepypasta originates from. Copypasta is essentially copying, pasting from one website to another.
Yeah.
And eventually these stories either get you don't never know who the original person was who wrote it, or
I hope they cite it.
Copypasta, creepypasta. It's just creepy stories that are being
right. So I mean, eventually it just
pasted.
it's the culture. The people who like these stories eventually just named it creepypasta because it's way better than copypasta.
Mm-hmm.
And the show's getting very pseudo.
Yeah.
If you guys ever want to walk down a real dark path and just put yourself in a K-hole of human misery and schadenfreude, I highly recommend looking at the last text messages people have sent and the last photographs taken of people.
Text from last night too. It's really funny.
Oh, are those websites that you can check or sites that you can just look into it?
Yeah, I mean sometimes you can find them as clickbait, but if you Google it, you can definitely find the text message that somebody sent to their boyfriend while they were fighting right before they hit a bridge embankment.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, good lord.
Or the photo ones, the last photos before
the selfie on the side of the cliff and stuff like that, where they find the phone, but the person.
I actually did get lost down one of those one day.
What?
There was a top 24 crazy photos. You click on it on Facebook, and then an hour later, you're like, huh.
Yeah, it was that Snapchat from those two girls.
What?
That were found murdered.
Oh.
It was they took a picture of the guy that was.
What the?
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Who was following them and stuff?
Oh yeah,
wow.
He raped and murdered them.
Oh sweet.
And but thankfully, they were smart enough to whip out their
camera and take a photo
and take a snap.
Is the dog okay? I
mean, that's all you care about, right? Oh, good lord. All right, guys. That was our creepypasta corner there. All right, so right now we're going to move into our movie review. The Darkercide movie review.
Hell yeah.
This week's movie that we're going to review is The Gift, The Gift.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a film that was released in August of 2015. It was directed and written by a Joel Edgerton. Joel Edgerton. IMDb gives it a 7.1 out of 10, and Rotten Tomatoes.
Really?
Yeah, 7.1 out of 10.
7.1 on IMDb. Wow.
And a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it is certified what, Rachel?
Fresh.
Certified fresh, like they put in the damn trailers. for every movie that does good on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right. Or, you know, what Rotten Tomatoes does for the industry, whether you believe it good or bad. So here's a brief synopsis. When married couple Simon, who Jason Bateman plays, and Robin, Rebecca Hall, unexpectedly encounter Gordo, Joel Edgerton. So that guy wrote and directed this film.
Wait, really? Are you serious?
Gordo did.
The guy who plays Gordo?
Yeah, he's Joel Edgerton. Yes. Yes, so in acquaintance from Simon's past, little do they know that their perfect lives will be thrown into a terrifying tailspin. At first, Simon doesn't recognize Gordo, but after a troubling series of uninvited encounters and mysterious gifts, a horrifying secret emerges as Robin learns what really happened between Simon and Gordo. She begins to question how well she knows her spouse.
Sorry, I'm dying over here.
So, Forrest, let's start off with you. What do you think of the film?
I understand the movie tried some kind of art perspective, which it worked, but I feel like, especially coming from a Blum production, it wasn't really a Blum movie, but I guess it was a Blum production. He pays them to, whatever. He pays them to be a subdivision in this film, the making of the film.
Right.
I felt it was a tad overrated, but I'm not gonna lie, it is kind of classical.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, not gonna lie, pretty drink.
Cheers.
It's very weird. I thought it was gonna be a lot more creepier than it was, although it gets very realistic. So when you're not trying to scare people, you're kind of on this other spectrum, and it's deep down inside, it's oh my god, life.
It gives you the feels.
Yeah.
Well, that's my issue that I had with the first at least half an hour of the movie.
Really?
I couldn't look at the screen. I could listen to it. I can't watch the awkwardness between people. I start to feel their emotions. I start to become a part of it, and it actually gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
So if I look away,
I got aggravated.
The first half an hour of that gave me that type of honest anxiety that I just couldn't handle, and I kept telling Rachel, I can't. I'm
and you're just waiting for this character Gordo to snap and start stabbing people with a knife, kind of thing.
Right,
and it doesn't happen.
That's how you feel. That's the edge that you're kind of given in that first 30 minutes of it, where you feel like Gordo's going to snap any minute here and just rip this woman apart and rip him apart, and just some kind of crazy fucked up thing, and you're wondering the whole time, what the fuck is the gift?
I'm not gonna seriously though. There is.
Not gonna lie.
I almost did say it.
Cheers, mate.
Right.
All right, so
what I was gonna say was, there were certain parts of scenes, whether it was the beginning, middle, or end of a certain scene, that clearly they cut. You can tell, you can just.
There were some cuts, totally.
It goes from one thing to the next, and you're just okay, so they probably cut about 5 minutes worth of the movie right here because it seemed pretty important, even if it didn't tie into the end, and. It angered me, but it was an artistic choice.
It definitely seems like a movie that they basically wrote the entire timeline in post-production.
So, interesting fun fact here.
You're
Joel
right.
Edgerton
Yep.
not only directed and starred in this movie, he produced it and wrote the script.
Wow. Did he edit it too?
No, that's all it says.
It would have been a lot shittier if he edited it, probably.
Most likely. But I can guarantee you they did a lot of storyline pieces in production. And then basically wrote the timeline and worked it all together.
They probably had at least 5 other options, at least.
What do you got to say about this, John? What do you think?
All right. So one of the first things that Gordo says, excuse me, he goes into their house and creepy guy from the past, a little overbearing, gives you gifts.
Weird gifts too.
Weird gifts,
and specifically in red.
Yes.
Envelopes and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's
it's a
true.
red bow. It's always got a red bow on it.
Right.
Yep.
Interesting. I missed that. He stocked the fish pond. Some of those fish were orange because they were goldfish. But so one of the things he says when he's starting to talk about his life, what have you been doing in your life? He talks about how he was in the military and all this and that. And he actually said very, very early on that the bad things, they can be a gift. And I know.
I didn't catch that.
I caught it.
I noted that because it was where the movie starts to steer itself. It's the bad things can be a gift, And then later on, we find out that he was bullied by Jason Bateman's character as a kid.
Yeah, and I mean that's where the entire shift happens when you go, oh my fucking god, it's not about Gordo. It's about the guy you actually kind of care about right now in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another really, really kind of amazing line that was in there was Bateman's character, whose name I've completely forgotten. I never wrote it down.
It was Simon.
Simon
Says.
Yeah, Simon Says. Yeah, in Simon's home. So Simon's hanging out with all his like yuppie buddies and his new job.
Yuppie, I like that.
His yuppie buddies in the job, like oh, you're gonna get that promotion for sure. Like all the cheesy guys. And then at one point, one of the guys is like, "Hey, listen, friendships grow organically.
I heard that too.
If they don't serve both parties, they dissipate organically."
I heard that too.
And I loved that.
Now, did Simon say that, or one of his friends?
One of the cronies did. He had very little screen time. He was there specifically to deliver that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy line, though.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we just hold on to friends for, that it just, you say, oh, they're your friend, but they're not giving you anything in life. And
they don't serve both parties.
Right. Yeah.
I just, it's weird because towards the middle / end of the film, I started to really hate the main character Simon, or I guess I don't know, he's a main character or whatever you want to call him. And then towards the end of the film, I still kind of hated him, but I felt bad for him.
No, I fucking didn't feel bad for him at all.
Really?
I didn't at all. Well, here's the thing. I mean, it's the
just
perfect,
a little bit.
To me, it's kind of like the perfect revenge story. John, you said you had issues with it. I think it's a great.
It's rapey. Story.
It is rapey. It is very rapey, and you can't take that away from it. No. Yes, that part of it did disturb me, but he also gave you the did I or didn't I?
Did I or didn't I not rape your wife? I don't know.
Maybe.
See you later, monkey man.
The icing to that.
That was so fucked up.
The icing on the cake to that is like, well, now whose baby is that?
Yeah, exactly.
And again, that's the thing he was trying to. So, spoiler again.
Yeah.
We are full of fucking spoilers. This is what our movie review does. Is
spoiler alert.
Tears it apart and spoils everything about it. So again, watch the movie before you hear our review.
Please.
It gets to a point where this guy is exacting all the revenge that he got from this Simon character, telling that he's a homo and that he was getting molested and raped and that he got this kid massively fucked up for the rest of his life, who had to go through the system, got kicked out of the school. Yeah. And Jason, and you learn basically that Jason Bateman's character Simon does this repeatedly through his life, especially with this promotion that he's getting. He ended up
very symbolic,
throwing shade towards this other guy so that he could get the job, and you find out that he's the world's biggest fucking prick, and I hate you.
He hasn't changed. He hasn't changed since fucking.
And then you go back and you think about the things that he was saying to his wife about, like the drug use, or you had issues, or
labels,
you mixing things again,
shit.
And basically the entire time he's trying to manipulate everybody's life, and he's a fucking perfect sociopath.
Oh yeah.
He's the textbook sociopath.
I know of people that are like that.
No, and we all do. We've all had them in our lives. So we've had them come in our lives.
It can be aggravating.
They either destroyed them or we just were able to get away from them as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. But I dealt with family members like this, and we've got they're among us, people. They're among us. I would say the majority of the people that are the heads of the CEOs in most of these companies that we either work for or work with are these types of sociopaths.
Well, isn't there not a study, but an article, I'll have to find it, where those people in those types of positions that want to accelerate in a corporate life have a tendency to be sociopaths.
Or sociopathic.
Correct, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Which is very interesting because it's...
Well, you have to be a sociopath. I think you have to be someone who doesn't necessarily care about anybody else other than yourself to grow that big in an organization. Yep. Yeah, there are these organic people who become huge, massive CEOs, mostly against their will, but they're the ones who came up with the idea. They're the ones who are sitting now on top of these companies, etc. But the people who fight their way up the ladder, and literally fight their way up the ladder, are going to do whatever they can to go up that ladder. And if you are at that point and you're doing these things to get up that way, you're not thinking about anybody else but yourself. And probably if you go back and look at that person's history, they've always thought about themselves.
Mm-hmm. This movie brought me back.
And everything else was just
It really did.
Well, you brought you back, obviously. I mean,
it brought me back. And
I was, bullied. I was a fat kid growing up. Mm-hmm. John, you've had your experiences. Rachel and you too,
Oh, yeah.
John. You know, I mean, Forrest.
I was right in the middle of like that time when schools were like, well, if they believe in it with their religion, then there's nothing we can do. But then we'll get mad at you if you get like the police involved or anything else outside of the school involved. And it was just...
Oh, I got in a fight with a girl in high school. And the principal told my mother, oh, it's because we must be on our periods.
Are you fucking serious?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, my God.
You know how women get.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking...
That's why.
You know what I should...
Good Lord.
You know what we should do? We should have fucking recorded it and send it to, like, somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. Send it to some media source.
Well, I mean, at the end of this movie, Jason Bateman's character and Gordo are in this perfect revenge situation where
It's
the wife got pregnant. He basically gets Gordon gets Simon to watch these, listen to the audio, look at the thing, like these things where he basically had a videotape of a situation where he's like, well, did I rape your wife?
It's very...
Or did I not rape your wife?
He drugged the man's wife,
Mm-hmm.
took a video of it, threw her on a bed with a monkey mask on, and it was just like, ha ha ha, video over.
Oh, was the Gatorade drugged?
Yes, the
police.
Gatorade was
Oh,
drugged.
okay,
That's why
that
she
makes so
fainted.
much more sense.
Oh,
than
the
Yeah.
Gatorade was drugged?
but if you think about it,
She took a sip.
But if you look at how she talked to Jason Bateman's character, you would thought that she's done this before, because of the way he said, because she had issues in the past.
Yeah,
and,
with drug abuse. I'm
Right.
sure he thought that's why he was like, why are you taking these pills? When
interesting.
she
So
was
then,
hiding.
so then that way Jason Bateman's character was also like, oh yeah, okay, this is something that
so
she
now
did.
you're using again.
Right.
Like,
Okay, this makes so much more sense now.
There was this little moment with this little packet of pills that was just like the most glaring plot device ever.
It was. It definitely was.
It was so gratuitous that it irked me to a level that I can't even begin to describe.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you're using drugs again, and let's never talk about it for the rest of the movie. We didn't talk about it before, we're not going to talk about it again.
But again, that also leads to
and
the
that's
type of character that Jason Bateman is.
what Forrest had said about the cutting. They must have cut out
Good point, yeah.
certain scenes that may have explained that in more detail.
I'm not gonna lie, watching it from like an editor's
Not gonna lie.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, you drink. So coming from a video editor's perspective, I feel like this movie was really good, but I don't know. It was just a weird movie.
Well, I think the editing was good. I think the way they cut in between the scenes, and the way he would give you this dramatic cut, and you're like, why are you visually giving this as what are you telling me? What part of the story are you trying to tell through this cut? So it made me think a little bit more about what maybe is coming next, or is he building a tension with these types of cut scenes? Eventually we do find out that these scenes that are like awkward for the female character are being recorded by him. So you don't realize that these scenes are purposefully awkward for you. And then eventually at the end you feel like, oh my god, he was recording through these angles that the director here, the guy who wrote it and starred in it, gave us. And it was like, oh my god, okay, now I get it. This is these cutscenes, these certain things that he was doing editing wise were leading into the story, the main aspect, or what would become the payoff eventually.
It was a little weird, especially after the scene where she passes out in the closet. Well, she pulls the stuff down, she passes out from the Gatorade bottle. When that scene ended, I didn't really think much of it. I was just like, okay.
She just fainted because of stress and kind of thing.
I didn't really think too much of it.
You had something that you were talking about, John, in regards to this movie that you thought was very poignant and very I don't know, you had something to say about that.
Yeah. So right before they flipped it, right? So we're following Simon. We're like, all right, he's kind of a he did something bad when he was young. Like who hasn't?
Right.
We all got stories we could tell, I'm sure. But he goes. His wife says, "Go apologize to this man. It will make me feel better."
Mm-hmm.
Or I won't be able to get over this situation until you do.
Yeah, exactly. And anyone who's had a wife is like, okay, I get that.
Probably should go do what she said.
They ask so little, right?
Mine's in the room, guys. Seriously. Oh, okay.
All right.
But yeah, John, seriously.
Yeah, so he goes to apologize, and he does not want to. Like it's very obvious that he has no interest
It is
in
going
apologizing.
100% completely against his character.
Yeah, it was a very odd feeling after the scene where he goes to see him he was in the garage or something, and Simon goes to see.
Yeah, I think this is what you were going to bring
Yeah,
up, John,
and he
right? Or right prior to that.
Yeah, just before the garage. He's in the bar. And he decides to get wasted. Like, I don't want to apologize to this guy. I'm going to sit here and just drink Crown Royal all night.
Yeah,
or
just
whatever the hell
shoot him back, because he was just ripping him back.
Oh, he was tearing him in half. And while this is going on, the Gordo character is sitting there doing the world's most awkward, like, bar trivia. Mm-hmm. And it comes down to the scene where he's like, what, the winning question was, what album was subpoenaed as part of the Tate LaBianca murders? And if you're a student of this at all, it's Charles Manson was part of the Tate LaBianca murders, and the musical album that was subpoenaed was Charles Manson's album Helter Skelter.
Or you mean the Beatles album?
No, his band was Helter Skelter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was his album. The Beatles had a song Helter Skelter.
Oh, that he named after.
That Charles Manson flipped and turned it from hippie to, I think they were the Yippies, if memory serves. Yeah, sort of the anti-hippies, right? So it sort of calls to mind that Charles Manson level of manipulation of another human being to do something that really isn't in their nature, right? So you see the interviews with the Manson kids basically, and it doesn't seem like it was in their nature to do something as horrible as they did, and yet they did it. Yeah. And that's really the Simon character, right? Is he's that manipulator. He's manipulated his wife to be this tiny shell of a person.
It manipulated itself into a promotion. Through basically throwing shade on this other person and getting him, looked after and everything else. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean that's a good point, John. I mean, I didn't think about that until you had brought it up, where I didn't even see that little subtle hint that this point was going to change, where the director and the writer was going to here's this little clue to this ultimate point of where this character is, and then after that, when they go into the garage, you basically see at that point, as I think you were going to say, that this is who Jason Bateman is, will always be, and especially after he goes to his wife. Yeah. So basically, what does he do? He
pins him to the ground.
Yeah, he confronts him in the garage, right? Yeah. And he basically does what every fucking bully ever did in their life. Yep. Turns it back on them. Yeah. They're the fucking loser. They're the worthless piece of shit. Shoving their face into the ground. And he's like, "Leave my family alone."
Fucking idiot.
And then he goes home to his wife and goes, he was so appreciative that I did that. He was just elated. And then he's like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to whatever he can say to get her to be convinced that everything is good."
And later down the road, she knows he lied to him.
And he's hugging her. She's hugging him. But you cut to his, and he's fake crying. You can tell he's fake crying while they're hugging. And then you cut to her face, and she's like, "Oh."
You can tell. You can see it in her eyes, the way she looks off into the distance. That maybe she doesn't believe him, and she knows that she doesn't believe him, but she wants to.
Well, I mean, it's her husband.
Of course.
They've been through all this. He was protecting her through these. Hand quotes, people. You can't get that on audio. Quote unquote, fucking all the issues that she had gone through that were most likely manipulated and perpetrated by him to keep her in line and for him to control every situation for her life.
And her husband didn't listen to her. I mean, I agree with exactly how she felt. I mean,
and the funny thing about this story is you get the bully perspective through the revenge. Mm-hmm. And you get it through the payoff at the end. But what I would like to have seen, or would have liked to have known a little bit more, and I don't think, and you guys can attest to this, we've all recently seen this movie, did they give you any backstory into Simon's character as to why he would have been a bully? Or is this just one of these classic bully characters that's being perpetrated in portrayed in the film?
He does mention things about his father. And I think it's during that scene, in the garage or in the alleyway where they are after that, the nightclub scene, that hints towards abuse.
Like my father beat me up.
Yeah.
He gave me shit. He threw me.
And look at me, I'm fine. Like,
Right.
I think that's exactly what he said, or something very similar.
Well, I think that
where
he was
it's
an
like,
argument that he had with his wife after that, right?
well, and that was his reasoning. Like, well, I was bullied and beat up by my family, and I'm okay,
Right.
even though he's really not.
Which is the bully's perspective.
Well, yeah.
I mean, because if whatever the environment that you were being bullied in or belittled in, you're most likely going to turn out to be a bullier, especially if this happens at a young age.
Yep.
I mean, you can talk about it from a psychological perspective. You know, I mean, the aspect. I mean, because the story is about bullying and then ultimately about revenge in the end. That's the payoff of the thriller. But the bigger issue that I think that this director and writer was going for was the root of bullying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like at a very young, a very developmental age, this type of situation will lead you to be a bully later on in life if it's not checked or controlled at some point.
Yeah, and it's like child molestation. Those who are molested turn later on in life tend to follow suit.
To be molesters. So I mean, if you're thinking about it from a bullying perspective,
it's the same thing. I mean, it's insane.
I've ran into people from high school at like Walmart, and like they have not changed a bit. And I'm just like, you're an asshole. I hope someone kicks you in the balls like twice.
Well, I mean, but you got to think about it. I mean, we're all products of our environment. We're all products of whether we had a caring, nurturing family, whether we had an abusive family, and whether we want to believe it or not, it does affect us as adults. We all know this. I mean, we all do. I mean, we were either bullied or had fucked up experiences with our families growing up, or experiences that just made us who we are, either consciously or subconsciously.
Yeah.
You know, and I find myself catching myself all the time going, wow.
But like in the sense of
too.
Gordo, he took that and he psychologically fucked over Simon.
Well, I mean, eventually at some point the bully becomes, like you were saying outside, where we were talking earlier about this, about either becomes a mass murderer or a killer or something eventually at some point, you know, and they develop to this. But I think in the respects of this, where Gordo is kind of the anti-hero, but in, like you said, John, a rapey way.
A rapey hero.
Yeah, very maybe rapey, maybe not rapey way. That he is the anti-hero in this situation where he actually gets the ultimate revenge, and he puts this guy in a situation of believing, did I or did I not? Yep. Just like Simon won't admit, did I fuck this kid up or did I not? And did I do it on purpose or did I not?
Well, now he's gonna think about it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
so
which
now,
is the ultimate thing.
And that's what the ultimate
payoff is
of this whole revenge story.
Absolutely.
Is that now he has it in Simon's head that, well, is that kid mine? He turned my wife against me.
Right.
Did I fuck up his life? Well, my life was fucked up, so what the hell? Why is it coming back on me now? You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. Like,
oh god, not gonna lie.
Not gonna lie. Everybody drink.
Everybody.
Oh yeah. So I feel like there were a couple shots that were like documentary type shots. So I thought, they're gonna incorporate a little bit of like, found footage in the movie. You'd think they would include more than what they include, like 30 seconds of that kind of stuff. I thought they would include at least a lot more than that.
Are you talking about the video that Gordo sent to Simon?
That, and there was like, what do you call it? Like one of those like security type cameras towards like the beginning, middle of the movie where it shows like at the doorstep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was just camera working.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was specifically designed for that, but I mean, ultimately this is a movie of revenge, and I think it was a decent movie. I couldn't give it the best marks in the world. I think at this point we should probably just give our grades on it.
Oh yeah.
4 words, John.
To describe the movie.
Your review of this movie within 4 words, and this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go around the table. Do that. This is what we do every episode. You do 4 words, and then after that, we'll give it a numerical grade, however you want to do it, either on a 10 scale or your own made up, which I do. Rachel, Forrest, you 4 words.
What the actual gift?
Rachel,
come back to me. Because I gotta think about
Come
it.
back
for a
to me.
second.
That's 4 words. I'll come back. John,
All right.
you got 4 words for this?
A skosh too rapey.
Oh,
A
I like
skosh.
that.
Too rapey.
Too rapey, absolutely. I mean,
A soupçon, as you will.
4 words. What I would say is pretty fucking cool. Period. I thought it was a cool story. At the end of it, I was like, I felt good. I felt good, but I didn't. I guess, the rapey part kind of didn't hit me as hard as it did with you, John.
Yeah, but didn't it turn out to be Simon's kid?
We don't know.
It looked like his eyes, because towards
babies are like smushed up when they come out.
Dude, they look like aliens. You have
For,
no
like,
idea.
the first
They're
3 weeks.
confusing. Like, the reason that they're confusing and they make you think that looks like you're. It supposedly always looks like the father.
Well, did you guys?
Well, that's true.
For a biological thing, but
Yes,
so that I don't
they
eat my child.
exactly.
Eat that supposed child
Yep.
and make sure that.
So that you
like
don't turn your child away.
Like lions do. A lion will
Right.
eat another baby.
Yeah.
Oh.
So to your 4 words.
Okay. Psychological mind fuck.
Psychological.
Psychological.
Psychological mind fuck.
Psychological.
All right, so out of 4 trillion dingledoppers, I give it an A-.
A-.
Yeah,
Cool.
so an A-. So I mean, it would probably be like an 81, no, a 91, 92
Yeah.
on a Rotten Tomatoes scale. So roughly what they gave it, I would give it a fair scale.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel?
I would say probably I would give it like an 85% out of 100%.
Yeah, so an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I thought the beginning was very slow. However, I really like the way it ended. It makes you think, and it makes you feel all these feelings that...
Whether good or bad, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But as Gordo said, right, Herman, even the bad things are a gift.
They can be a gift.
They can be a gift. So, I mean, it makes you think, it makes you feel. That's what movies are supposed to do. So, I think it was a good job.
The movie was a roller coaster ride. Like
Forrest, your numerical or graded scale?
Oh, man. I'd give it the same 8.5.
8.5?
8.5 for
Nice.
sure.
Johnny? Or Herman, I should say.
No, whatever you like. I don't know. It's 75. I mean, out of 100, I'd
That's
say
not bad.
It was definitely just too rapey.
What is it, a whole point?
You got to lose at least 15 percentage points for just being a little too rapey.
Or like one whole grade point.
Except Kids. For some reason, the movie Kids transcends that.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier about how these kids like Gummo and these movies like Kids and Gummo, where we saw these at younger ages, these weird fucked up scenes that just didn't were artistic or whatever. Yeah, I that's fine. I mean, because it is an artistic film, it's an expression. This added a little bit of that kind of Schrodinger's cat type of situation with the rape.
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
Did it happen or didn't it happen? That's where you have to think about it logically like that. Like, yes, it could have very well been rapey. He did kind of touch her chest in that one little scene or whatever, but and ultimately you have to go, did I or did he or didn't he?
It's just creepy.
I thought they were going to go further.
And it made you feel wrong, right?
It's good they didn't.
John, it made you feel wrong, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it worked, but good God.
But they also lost a whole percentage point.
Yeah,
for,
15%.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I think this is plenty enough time for us to move on out of the Darkercide movie review, because that was actually quite a long review.
Yeah,
it was probably one of the most lengthy. I mean, there are 4 people now with their perspectives in this podcast, but good job, guys. It was great.
Yeah, it was great.
All right, everybody. This segment right here is time for us to, what we like to say, diving deeper into the darker side. So today's topic that we're going to discuss is a topic that some of you may know about, and if you don't, I'm so glad that you're getting this, because this is one of those things in history that we don't learn about in our everyday school systems. We don't learn about things. We honestly don't know what was going on the West Coast during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. And it's sad because there's some crazy shit going on the West Coast and in that part of the war. This is the topic that a lot of UFO people will know, and it's called what is named the Battle of Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And this week, I'm going to take a break. And hopefully, if John wants to continue this portion as our lead researcher, he did all the researching on this topic, and he's the one who's actually going to give us a story this week. And that's why I said that you're you're a special guest star this week. And honestly, you're more than welcome to come back and do this portion, because I mean, doing all the other stuff that happens in this podcast is a lot, and to have anybody else come on board and help out. Rachel, so love having you on and giving your perspective and everything. And
awesome.
It's built. I think we're in episode 5 at this point. It's growing. It's getting a lot better. But John Herrmann, the fucking Battle of Los Angeles.
All right, so the Battle of Los Angeles. I'm going to take you back to the day that will live in infamy, December 7, 1941. Japan launched a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, and we all know about this.
Yep.
2,335 were killed in the surprise attack. An additional 1,143 Americans were wounded. America entered World War II, and fears of attack on mainland U.S. were very high.
Well, of course. I mean, at that point, it was such a major tension that we were like, at any given time, we're going to be attacked on our homeland. We had that, and then we had like German U-boats on the East Coast, and we're just wondering when the hell it was going to happen.
Yeah, when's the other shoe going to drop?
Exactly.
So 78 days later, February 23rd, 1942, an Imperial Japanese submarine known as I-17 had launched an attack.
It's a good metal band name.
I-17.
I-17, yeah.
It's also the road that'll take you from Phoenix to Flagstaff, Arizona, where you can probably look up at the skies and see some
UFOs,
some unidentified flying objects,
exactly.
Some UFOs. So I-17 launched an attack on an oil field in Elwood, which is about Santa Barbara area in California.
Well, like how far away from Los Angeles is that?
Do you know I didn't Google map it and I should have?
It's probably. I don't think it's that far away.
That
I think
far
it's a suburb of Los Angeles.
It's within a few miles.
Yeah, I think it's a suburb of Los Angeles.
Right.
Yeah, Santa Barbara. So, I mean, I could be wrong. We're East Coast people. We live in fucking New England. I don't know anything about California. I haven't spent much time here, but as story goes, I'm sure of it. And if we're wrong, let us know about it.
Going from Boston to Southie.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
It's beautiful there, though.
Yeah.
So anyway, the minimal damage was inflicted. Basically, what happened is the sub rolls in. It shoots about 12 to 24 shells. The records are a little bit spotty as to the number. There were no injuries that occurred and only minimal damage. So this is interesting. According to a 1982 article that came in Parade magazine about this skirmish, I guess, the commander of I-17 was Kozo Nishino. He was the captain, and in peace times, he had previously visited the Elwood oil field.
We were talking about this the last time we were together, yes.
So
funny.
So here's how Parade describes the event. In the late 1930s, Kozo Nishino was commander of the Japanese tanker taking on crude oil at the Elwood oil field. On his way up from basically where he parked the boat to on the beach to a formal ceremony welcoming him and his crew, Nishino slipped and fell into a prickly pear cactus.
Oh, God. So he fell off the stage into a fucking cactus. So he's a put it into perspective, he's a Japanese. He's just Japanese, first off.
Yeah. He's a ship commander.
He's a ship commander. Yeah. So he's held to high respect. Yeah. He's Japanese, and if you know their culture, oh my God, he fell into a prickly pear cactus. And then what ensues, John?
So on the way up from a path from the beach and this is a formal ceremony welcoming these guys, he fell into the cactus. So workers from the oil rig broke into guffaws at the sight of this proud commander having cactus spines plucked from his posterior.
So you've got this proud Japanese commander. He's got this, he's the ship commander. He's proud. He's Japanese, and now he's getting these prickly pear cactus prongs pulled from his ass.
Yeah, by his crew, like feverishly just yanking him out of his butt.
How humiliating is it for this strong, proud Japanese person?
Right.
The most humiliating.
So right then and there, the humiliated Nishino swore to get even. Get even he did. So
Sorry.
It's okay. Keep going.
So the reports of the attack say that it cost almost $500 to defuse the unexploded ordnance that were fired from I-17. So in other words, he comes back and decides to attack this place, shoots a bunch of shells at it, and what the reports say is that he didn't actually fire the shells at the oil field per se, but he fired them at the location where the offending cactus was.
So he didn't take the time to actually shoot where it would make most sense for the most damage for the American forces or the American people, which were these oil reserves and these other munitions holdings or whatever they had there.
Just oil reserves.
Just oil reserves. But either way, this was very important for our military. This was very important for our infrastructure. He shot them at the fucking cactus.
The cactus.
That humiliated him, ultimately humiliated him. And not the oil fields?
Not the oil fields, just the cactus.
Wow.
So revenge is a sweet, sweet bitch.
Yes, apparently.
Delicious revenge. So there were unexploded shells that did need to be deactivated, and that did cost $500 at the time, which is, I think, like $3,800.
Yeah, just a couple grand now. I mean,
So.
that's like what you get on your tax returns if you have 2 kids.
Oh, nice. So anyway, news of this botched attack was spread the next day. The San Diego Tribune called it a bold but unsuccessful attack on important oil refineries. Emotions were high, and fear of an imminent and more devastating Japanese attack was in the air in Los Angeles, California. In the book, The Way We Really Were, the Golden State in the Second Great War, actor and writer Buck Henry recalled the feeling in LA at the time. He said, quote, "We imagined parachutes dropping. We imagined the hills of Hollywood on fire. We imagined hand-to-hand combat on Rodeo Drive."
Yeah, and I mean, most likely, I mean, the tensions are high already. I mean, America hasn't decided whether or not, although I think at this point, from the Pacific perspective, we have decided that we're jumping in. Right. How long after Pearl Harbor did we decide that we were going to interact in this war?
I think the next day.
Right, the next day we declared war on the Pacific Theater.
And if it's not the next day, it was within days.
Within days. So I mean, the tension is high on the West Coast, absolutely.
Oh, God,
I mean, beyond tension. And then you have this one little incident that happens, and you can only imagine from the perspective of people living in this area.
Yeah.
How fucking on how on
Edge
are they? Seriously. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy to think about that from that perspective.
You gotta fight the ninjas on Rodeo Drive. I mean, can you imagine that? You're baking bread, the next thing you know, there's a bunch of people in Rodeo. You gotta go out and fight them somehow.
Have we, John, at this point already interred the Japanese population?
So that vote had come down shortly before that, not too long. I don't know the exact date.
So they're in the beginnings of our Japanese internment on the West Coast.
Oh yeah.
That horrible thing that we did, our government did to these poor people on the West Coast at that time. Absolutely. So I guess this was in the process of leading, that's happening, and then this is all on top of all of that.
Yeah, we as a people were terrified, and we didn't know what to do with that.
Right,
and some of the things we did were not very good.
No, just almost as bad as what was happening in the European theater.
Yeah.
Not as bad, I would say.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on.
So anyway, the fear was not at all unfounded. If you look at LA as a military target, it's really a sound investment. Los Angeles was the largest producer of aircraft in the U.S. at the time.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Who had the contract? Was it?
I have no idea. They
Probably Lockheed
or
Martin.
Raytheon.
Yeah, Raytheon, one of them. Yeah.
They had a huge shipbuilding industry, and being on the Pacific, this is a big threat to Japan. So. On the evening, really the next morning after this botched attack, February 25th, at about 2 a.m., radar picks up a target off the coast of California. A green alert is issued, which a green alert, if I hadn't heard of it either, is basically okay to fire.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. Right away, they had no idea what this was. Was it just a single?
Well, and like the tension is extremely high.
Yeah, you're already. Everybody's at a 9.5 already.
Right.
And then they see this, it's like, instant 11.
Right.
Yeah, so 2:25 a.m., the radar is showing that this target is closer. And I mean, I don't know if you know much about radar back then, but it's not the most exacting science.
No, I mean, a flock of seagulls, the 80s band flock of seagulls, you can imagine them flying through the air. Yeah. A flock of seagulls would have been a blip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if I was living there at the time, I would have run so far away.
Oh, John, very clever.
So anyway, blackout was ordered by the 4th Interceptor Command, and then they lost the target on the radar. There's just no idea where it went. So for roughly half an hour, the city completely bathed in darkness, except for the searchlights that began scanning the sky for
What, did they black the city out at that point?
They blacked the city out.
Yep.
Like, no lights.
So
Driving your car, turn off the headlights. You got a business, shut the lights off. You would get fined if you had lights on in your house.
What is the point? So to decrease the amount of targets?
Correct.
In the city?
So yeah, if you're flying a plane in the 1940s, you kind of have a general idea as to where everything is.
Because of the lights going on.
Because of the lights, yeah. I mean, they don't have the targeting we have now where you can just, fly a remote control plane from Georgia and, like, blow up a house in Istanbul or whatever. Whatever the fuck we do, I don't know. So for roughly half an hour, the city's completely dark. Searchlights looking for these enemy aircraft. Officials warned the civil defense leader that the Japanese aircraft were approaching the LA area, and at 3:16 a.m., air raid sirens go off, and the 37th Coast Artillery began firing 50 caliber tracer machine gun rounds and 12.8 pound anti-aircraft shells into the night sky. And basically, this is where it gets kind of weird. It sounds like they're firing all these munitions willy-nilly into the air.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yep, that's exactly what happened.
But they're not, though, are they? I thought they're mostly...
Not until they found their target.
This is the official story.
Yeah.
Oh, the official story. Okay, so they're telling us they're going up everywhere. We don't,
Yeah.
So the original CBS newsreel, if you watch that, and it's on YouTube, you should definitely look it up. It's kind of great.
Definitely.
It described an unidentified object, which they thought was a blimp based on how slowly that it moved. It required 30 minutes to travel roughly 25 miles from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach over the Redondo Hills. All while this concussion of shells is going off in the general area where they think this thing is. At the time, CBS reported that the Army planes took to the sky. Here's what's interesting. If you look at the reports that have been done, and in the 1980s they did another one. They went back and researched.
But because I think there was a resurgence of an interest in this topic back in the 80s when I think at that point in the early 80s, Hollywood basically gave us a giant boom and an interest in the UFOs with all the movies that were coming out, E.T., Close Encounters, all those movies that were coming out in the early 80s, a resurgence of this like interest in the phenomenon of UFOs. Mm-hmm. So the Battle of Los Angeles came back up. So, digging deeper into that was definitely a thing that they probably want to do. I mean, it's one of the most prolific stories UFO-wise if you look at it from that perspective.
It's the original. They didn't have the term.
It was one of the originals, absolutely.
They didn't have the term UFO. It was Martians or men from Mars.
Was this pre? This is pre.
Roswell.
5 years. Yeah, we talked about this a few minutes ago.
Yeah, so Roswell was the turning point that created this whole sub-interest in these UFOs, I mean, from a larger perspective.
Well, even though, this had happened 5 years prior.
Right, but I think... continue on, John.
Yeah, the space race, the novels in the 1950s, all that stuff. Absolutely. So... CBS reported that there were planes that flew. At the time, the 4th Air Force study from the Interceptor Command said that they kept their planes grounded, preferring to, quote, wait for the scale and direction of the attack to become... waiting for the scale and direction of the attack before committing its limited force.
So the official report says that they actually didn't send planes up when the unofficial report says that they did.
So the people that were there, because, I mean, to be fair, Studio City is in the general Los Angeles area.
Yeah, the most lucrative area of all of the world at that point, and to this point, still in 2018, is literally right there.
Yeah,
you would think that it would be the most protected place on planet.
Oh, correct. Yeah. And I believe they have cameras there. In Los Angeles, Hollywood. Oh, I've heard tell. I've heard tell.
Maybe they have some cameras there. Who knows? We don't know.
So anyway, the army reported that a quote balloon carrying a red flare was spotted over Santa Monica.
Balloons love to just carry red flares across the sky. We've all seen them, right?
Oh yeah.
We've seen the balloons with red flares.
So here's what's neat. They said it's a balloon, and then in the 1980s they're like it was a weather balloon. But here's what's nice about the weather balloon theory. Nobody ever claims a weather balloon, and they found nothing. When they went out and searched for any downed aircraft or pieces and parts, all they found was chunks of shells that had landed on the beach. Some unexploded ordnance, few damaged houses, but they never found any evidence that what they were shooting at actually existed.
Well, from a physical standpoint.
From a physical standpoint.
What was the final round count that was?
1,430 shells were blasted into the night sky.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And not one of them hit anything?
Well, there were quite a few of them exploding in the sky.
Yeah.
Didn't hit anybody.
Without being triggered, or, I mean, are these ordinances that are just, they're not developed or made to explode at a certain point, are they?
They explode in the air. So these are anti-aircraft shells. You shoot them up in the air, they explode, and they send shrapnel everywhere.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
But what goes up must come down, so you're basically raining shrapnel on Los Angeles.
Well, especially if you do it, how long over? How many hours? A couple hour period?
Yeah, but about that.
So all these munitions are being shot up in the same general area, generally, within, I mean, they know they have a focus area that they're shooting all of them in.
Wow.
And none of them hit the target?
None of them hit the target. So the official story comes the next day from Frank Knox from the Navy, who said that it was a false alarm and...
Frank Knox is a fucker, that's all I can say.
Fair enough.
He eventually comes back and fucks us again with Roswell, so just to let you know that.
Yeah, he said it was, quote, jittery nerves.
Jittery nerves? How many munitions?
1,430.
That's a lot of jittery nerves.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen people in these situations where they'll pull the trigger too fast because they're jittery nerves, but 1,000 heavy artillery anti-aircraft munitions? Wow.
Yeah, big stuff.
That's a lot of jittery nerves.
Big stuff. It's very jittery. I've been jittery, but I've never
had lots
fired...
of coffee, but I've never had that much jitters. Yeah.
I've never fired 1,400 rounds into this guy.
That's fucked.
So what's interesting is the command in San Francisco confirmed that there was at the same time confirmed that there was a presence over the Southland, which is the general LA area, of unidentified planes. And they did relay that to the Southern California sector office in Pasadena. So they produced a second statement that read, quote, "The aircraft which caused the blackout in Los Angeles area for several hours this morning have not been identified." So we now have unidentified flying objects. The question I'm going to ask you guys, do we have unidentified flying objects, or do we have capital U, capital F, capital O unidentified flying objects?
As in aliens.
Okay.
As in MUFON,
as in
UFO.
Yeah.
Little green men flying around in a...
Well, here's the thing is, if you go back into the reporting, you could probably attest to this, John. There were multiple eyewitness peoples who said that they had saw multiple lights in the sky together, possibly in the formation of these, what they would say, 4 to 7 different airplanes flying through the sky at any given time. So there's multiple people witnessing these multiple lights, or could be a configuration of planes together in the sky, right?
Yeah, so thousands of witnesses actually reported in, and they reported seeing planes, including the police chief observing from City Hall, who actually reported seeing a flight of 9 silvery-looking planes from the Redondo Beach area to the land side of Fort MacArthur towards the Santa Ana and Huntington Beach.
And what they would consider planes, because they're just reflective or light sources from the sky at that point.
Yeah, and figure they don't have the dialogue that we have now. Like, we don't look at the sky and see something that's not a plane and go, we don't have words for it. They do.
We all know what a plane looks like in the sky. We all know what something else looks like in the sky. Because we've been experienced and we know what. And at that point, you're right. It could have been a larger formation of one entity, light-wise. If you look back at the Phoenix lights, and we'll eventually probably do that as a different topic eventually, but that's a whole other episode.
That story creeps me.
But they said that those were flares, and they could have been this type of similar formation going through the night sky in Los Angeles at that point.
Yeah, checking this out. And if you think about it, like, a lot of these sightings occur during huge transitional events in our history.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Times news reporter Ray Zeman was visiting relatives in Los Angeles at the time, and he set out on foot during the raid and went to the Inglewood City Hall. On his walk, he encountered 2 policemen who, when asked if they had seen planes, the beat cops reported to have seen, quote, plenty, 25 to 30,000 feet high, out of reach of the, quote, ack-ack guns. ACAC.
That sounds a lot like a
ACAC.
Steven Spielberg, like Star Wars type of gun.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? They went on to report that the number totaled somewhere between 150 to 200 planes. Zeman arrived at the Inglewood police station, and according to the story, the police there witnessed 7 to 9 planes. So basically, searchlights trained on an unidentified object, and even as the shells bursted all around this object, nothing happened. Videos and photographs were taken, in which presumably there was an object captured in the searchlights.
Was this object moving, or was it stagnant for a while? From these perspectives, these accounts.
So it was moving, but it was moving slowly. They said it took 25 minutes to cover 30 miles.
So basically moving a mile a minute, which is
right
60 miles per hour. If you think about it from this perspective in the sky, that is it's hovering.
Yeah.
It's slow poking its way. I mean, granted, we get on the highway at 80 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. We can go a minute, a mile at 60 miles per hour. If you think about that from perspective on a highway, it's really not that. And if you're looking at it from a full sky, and the sky's perspective is 10 to 20 miles total, that's moving like it's slugging along.
Mm-hmm.
Slugging along.
So my question, too, is that, like, the guys who are, the people who are shooting them, the people who are shooting them down, well, this supposedly unidentified object or UFO object, are they under the impression that this might have to do with with everything going on?
Well, I'm 100% sure that they think it's Japanese.
Yeah,
I mean, from all perspectives at this point, it is Japanese.
Okay.
Because, I mean, the tension that we were talking about prior has basically led to the point that everybody believing that this is another attack on Los Angeles.
And this was within, like,
this is the attack.
2 days.
The attack.
Right.
All right.
So, let me ask you guys this. Was it, as the witnesses reported, was it, quote, a plane? Was it a whole squadron? Or was it a, quote, blimp because it was moving so slowly? Or, as the military will tell us, was it just a weather balloon or a case of jittery nerves?
It's not either of those fucking things.
So at 4:14 a.m., an all clear was sounded. Life as usual continues.
So how many hours is this now? 2?
Just about 2. Just under 2.
Wow.
So all told, because of, quote, jittery nerves, the blackout itself, 5 people were killed as an end result of the air raid.
5. How did these people die, John?
So three in car accidents. One guy was driving a milk truck and crashed it because obviously
he's looking up at the sky going, "What the fuck?" And we all know. I mean, nowadays it's texting, but this guy was watching a battle at the sky.
Also, pretty hard to drive without headlights. Just saying. In a blacked out city, it's really hard to drive without headlights.
No headlights. Oh my god.
Good lord.
The other 2 was a couple that died in their car, and then there were 2 folks that died because of heart attacks because of all the concussive bombs going on.
And the stress of the whole situation. Yeah. Good lord. So the only casualties in this were the
secondary.
There was 0, primary target casualties. Right. There was no. This is all not what we would call friendly fire, but like fucking friendly fire.
Yeah,
like from the fire itself, just the nuisance of it or the stress of it killed these fucking people. Oh, poor people.
With so many witnesses, including journalists, it should be pretty easy to get to the truth, right? We had a video, we had photographic evidence, and incidentally, for those of you that are listening in a car, I would suggest you pull over, open your favorite search engine, and look up Battle of Los Angeles photo. You got it? So what you're seeing there is an alleged unidentified flying object caught in military searchlights. There's going to be some white spots, and those are literal bombs bursting in air. If you're into Americana,
we'll have to put that on.
And it's one of the most iconic pictures of all time. If you look into the respects of alien or UFO experiences in America, this is the most prolific, most iconic picture that you're going to see. I mean, the spotlights are beautiful.
I gotta take a picture of it.
It looks like there's something. Why are all these spotlights on one thing?
So what's interesting is I looked into the photo itself. And the photo that you see from the LA Times, if you search that, has been retouched. The spots around are brighter to indicate that there are bombs exploding in air, and the thing in the searchlights has sort of been brought out a little bit. So back in the 80s, a man, Scott Harrison, from the LA Times, took the original negative and made a bunch of prints of it and started to really, really dissect it. And
what year was this again? 50 what?
1942.
Wow.
So I mean, you have to think about like technologically wise or advancement wise, photography hadn't really changed much from the daguerreotype to this point. At this point,
Well, they had cellulite film.
I mean, they did,
Yeah.
but like,
You got color
but their
photos of World War
exposure
II.
times. I mean, you have to think about the exposure time for this one photo anyway.
Yeah.
So enable for them to bring it out even more, they had to literally doctor this picture to get a perspective. I mean, they're looking the camera itself, especially with the blackout. There's no ambient light. There's nothing around it. So they're just getting what the shot is. And then it's going to be, especially if it's not a long exposure, it's going to be underdeveloped.
Yes, and a lot of photographs at the time were underexposed, and what they would do is they would do all the dodging and burning in and all that stuff.
And this is right before they would put it in print.
Right before they threw it in.
So within hours after the picture was taken and developed, this was happening to make sure that they could have a viable picture for these prints, these newspapers.
Sense, I guess.
So if you look into the photograph itself, a lot of people dissect it, and we could spend hours talking about it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But the most compelling argument that I found was if you look at the pictures, regardless of whether you look at the retouched or the original photograph, if you look at the pictures, you see the searchlights trained on a spot. And the searchlights, the light does not advance beyond that spot.
Right.
And I hold to the theory that people at the time, one of the most common descriptions of this flying object was a, quote, lozenge-shaped flying object.
And that's the most quoted?
That purport,
outside of the airplanes and all these
airplanes, balloons, etc. People trying to figure out what it was, but it was the people that weren't trying to figure out what it was, just saying, I saw a lozenge-shaped object floating in the sky. A lot of people thought it was a zeppelin, a blimp,
or
whatever.
without putting a preconceived perception, or this is what I don't know what it was, but this is what I saw. It was a lozenge. Yeah.
Correct. That purportedly emitted orange light. So I leave it to you to determine, was it a weather balloon? Was it a squadron of Japanese planes? Was it our own planes? Or was it a lozenge-shaped blob, a capital U, capital F, capital O?
Well, here's what I could say, and we're going to go around the table and like do this. But like you said, even after they doctored this picture, all the streams of light were focused on one point. And then if you look at that one point, even again after it's doctored or the original frame, and I don't think you alluded to this, but you did in a conversation with you and I prior, that even the original print, the original frame of this photo, nothing went past that point. There's no point of light. There's no origin after that. Everything was focused on this one point, and there's nothing focusable or obtainable after that one point in the middle of this focused area. So even if it was doctored or not doctored, there's still something there that is unexplainable.
Right.
Yeah.
That is not light penetrable, or can you get a reflection or a shadow or any type of light outside of that one point? It's unexplainable. It is, in my opinion, whether it's doctored or not, I still feel that, and I come from a UFO background, I believe wholeheartedly that we're not alone in this, and I believe that we've been visited. And if we want to go back, and eventually maybe one of these episodes down the line, I'll give you my experience. I believe that I may have been abducted as a child. And John, you've got some more recent things that you want us to look into that may have been
Allegedly.
Again, allegedly. I mean, we're putting up air quotes because the world is deep enough. But I believe it was a UFO for sure. I don't think it was a weather balloon or any of these other things. Your take on this, Rachel?
So my thing is that's a lot of rounds that were fired into the sky for nothing to come down, for nothing to break off. If it was a weather balloon, don't you think they would have hit it?
Yeah.
Or damaged it in some manner that there would be evidence of that damage. However, it was untouched. whatever this object is, whatever it is, it was untouched, it was unscathed, and it got away. So
It did get away. Was there?
Yeah.
Were there witnesses?
It just was gone.
It
yeah.
just kind of took off.
Just
like, bye guys.
And nobody was running around like, hey, where's my balloon?
Yeah.
You know, like
Right.
they didn't find one.
No, not until the 80s or later on when Roswell happened, or shortly after, weeks after, did they say, oh, this was officially a weather balloon thanks to Knox and his bullshit.
I think this is the first time a weather balloon has been blamed for a UFO.
Agreed.
Yeah, outside. Yeah, so the first time.
Well, so then 5 years later, when Roswell happened, they were like, "Oh yeah, it was just another weather balloon."
We love it.
Yeah, then Knox eventually went on to other sightings later on in history within the 70s and 80s, and exclaimed that it was either a weather balloon or fucking swamp gas.
Oh, swamp
This guy
gas.
he's a perpetual. He perpetually covered up these incidences throughout our history. The main topics that we'll probably eventually hit throughout the history of this podcast, but he gave them bullshit cover stories. Boris, what is your take on this? What do you think it is?
Well, I mean, you have to believe that even people in the Army who had to give out this message about a weather balloon, you got to believe that most of them know that they know they're fooling the American people, and they probably know that most Americans aren't really going to buy what they're really saying, and they got to live with that. But I would expect a better explanation from whoever was the top head in Volvi. I guess the Army, or whoever. I'm sure there was a percentage of people in that time who were like, "Oh, we want a better explanation than that."
Yeah, but nobody knew at this time what a UFO was. I mean, it wasn't culturally acceptable the way it is nowadays. I mean, we live in 2018. Everything that we talk about is either spooky or UFO or, at least related to the paranormal and shit. Like, go ahead.
Also, the media wasn't as big then as it is now.
Well, it's pretty influential. I mean,
but it was print. I mean,
print.
Yeah.
you had to go to the movies to see any moving pictures.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, ultimately, we get your perspective, and John, from your perspective, I mean, you're leaving it open to us, and you allowed us to have our say. But what is your final say? What do you think it is?
Us fucking aliens, man.
Right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't give a shit. I mean, I know Scott Harrison said there's no object in the lights, but I mean, where did the light go? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Scott.
I mean, light will continue on at some point. I mean,
and this is right before our flying boys in the South Pacific start talking about, quote, Foo Fighters.
oh yeah,
Yes.
so, I mean, literally
Yeah.
months,
So,
and then I mean, even people not even in the Pacific front, the Pacific theater. Then you go into our flyboys in the European theater, and their experience and shit too, especially in this time. It's like
aliens.
a heightened time because the aliens knew. I mean, in my opinion, they knew what was coming.
Yeah.
They knew where we were with our technology. They knew what we were testing. They knew what was going on in Arizona. They knew what was going on in Utah and all these other places where we were fucking nuking fucking desert.
Yeah.
They knew what was going on, and they were aware. They were there. They were witnessing the nuclear age. The second, in my opinion, if you think about ancient alien theorists. But there are a few of us that actually believe in that shit.
There will never be a nuclear attack on this planet because it's too vital to other.
Well, I mean, and if you look into other experiences, there are UFOs that actually are like shutting down these nuclear bombs during these tests and other things. So I mean, aliens for fucking sure, dude.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was the perfect time for them to expose themselves too, to just kind of like break up the craziness that was going on, and like, oh, we're here to watch you, and we'll at some point we'll intervene maybe.
We're around this time frame too when all this started happening. Weren't there other countries that actually stepped forward and said, no, that's actually wrong. We don't agree with America, like with what they're saying.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter because we hadn't dropped the bomb yet.
We hadn't even started building it yet. I mean, to be fair, in 1942, it's like 3 years before we really started developing and getting ready to
Oppenheimer.
wave our
we're
giant
basically just
nuclear
picking
dick.
up Oppenheimer. And we're picking up the German Oppenheimers and the
Werner von Braun and all those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Operation Paperclip.
Yeah, we're just touching upon that at this point in history, but yeah, I mean, I think it's aliens, dude. I mean,
It's gotta be.
Everybody.
It's gotta be.
Case closed.
Case closed.
Next.
All right, everybody. That was us diving deeper into the darker side, the Battle of Los Angeles, and John, thank you for bringing all of that to the table. Thank you for doing the research on that. Man, you have no idea the burden that takes off of me during the week that I don't have to do this. That was awesome. I think John, you'll be back next week, right? With another topic.
Yeah. I think
we've got a barn burner for you guys next week, and it's very recent. It's a very cool topic, and you'll never guess that what we're gonna bring to you.
Oh, I'm gonna delve into human misery.
Yeah.
That's so fucking metal.
All right, dude. I love it. All right. So we are now going to get into our segment. All right. So this is our segment that we like to call Getting Lost in the Forest.
Fuck
So
yeah.
this is the segment that we let Forrest is our amazing young talented just passionate person. He's got fire in his nuts, he's got fire in his brain, and he's just got fire about these certain topics that happen in whether it's social injustice, whether it's LGBTQ plus rights, just anything that has to deal with the darker side of humanity in the respects of social injustice or atrocities or anything that happens. And Forrest is he does this weekly. He brings us his fire, his passion about this, and this is what we'd like to call Getting Lost in the Forest.
Thank you, guys. Or I would say also whatever the fuck makes me angry.
Yeah, whatever chaps your balls, whatever makes you angry, whatever basically, gets you heated this week. Exactly.
And a million other Americans, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, quite a bit of them.
Let's see here. More terrible things are happening to Milo Yiannopoulos. Excuse me if that's not how his last name is pronounced. The provocateur might be facing financial difficulties. This is a story by Ariel Sobel, and it was actually publicated on March 30th, 2018 at 2:41 p.m. So this is a pretty fresh story.
What about the story, if you can give us real quick, what about it that give us the background real quick, and then give us what makes you fucking pissed off about this shit.
Well, I don't know, it's not too hard, I guess, because there's times in my life where any kind of news outlet that my tablet or my phone or anything's connected to these kinds of crap, even my computer, if I turn on the internet on my computer, as soon as it logs in, all this crap comes up. And from time to time, Milo would be in my news feed.
From time to time, he was in there. The last 3 years of the political movement, Milo has been in that. He's been in the spotlight.
Even after those Nazi Confederate movements in South Carolina, and but this shit has been happening in Southern Cali for years, and the media hasn't been covering it because it's California, I guess. Whatever. But that's another topic. Because it was happening when I was there, 2015, and the media didn't cover it. A lot of shit going on in Orange County. So
what about this story here that's chafing your balls?
So, this guy is, in my opinion, a hypocritical bastard. He is backed by right-wing political affiliations that are pro-religious, pro-gun. That's off topic anyway. They're pro-religious. They believe in religious legislation that oppress Americans that he represents.
Yeah, but he represents the minority, the ultra minority of LGBTQ plus ultra conservatives. I mean, how many of total? I think Milo might be one of 30.
Yeah, there's got to be about 4
in the
of them.
entire 390 million people that make up this country.
Yeah.
Or 700. How many people are in this fucking country?
Too many. There's too many.
We're not at a billion.
385 million.
Yeah, almost 400 million people in this large nation of ours. He's got to literally represent 30 people total. Yeah. The thing about Milo is that the ultra conservatives love him.
They do. He's sucking them all
Considering it, sucking them all up.
Yeah, you gotta love
because
that.
he represents their ultra conservativeness from a liberal perspective. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to give his background and his sexuality and his standing point, it's from a liberal perspective because he is. I mean, in the majority, not all gay people or lesbian or trans or bisexual people are liberal.
You're right.
Some of them are conservative.
I know of a lot of conservative gay people in New
If you're
Jersey.
looking at conservatism from a money perspective, then there are quite a few, lesbian, gays, and trans people who could technically be considered conservatives.
The thing is, though, is that like the higher up people who control this country, it's what's really, I'm not trying to get off topic, but what's really important is that what's going on right now. Sorry. What's going on right now?
That's Forrest getting passionate with his
a little
fist.
bit. A little bit. It's what's going on right now is what's really important, and I think it's negligence that people who support this party don't want to own up to the fact that their party has faults, very far and extreme faults that are unconstitutional, and they don't want to own up to that fact. And then when liberals say it, it's completely wrong, even though there's evidence. But going back to Milo, that's why I'm upset. I'm just like, okay, well, I don't feel that bad for him at all. And it's kind of, I don't know, I guess it kind of has to do with how you might feel watching the movie, The Gift.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, okay, so he's facing all these lawsuits and financial difficulties, and I don't feel bad for him. He stemmed a movement of hate, though. He supports movements that endorse hate and violence.
Yeah.
Violence.
Well,
exactly.
also kind of opening the door to groups who are massively promoting openness and love and acceptance.
Yeah.
He's a part of a political minority that literally has been always on the political majority side. I mean, or like the liberal side of openness and
Right.
Acceptance and everything else. But he's taking this to a far extreme of being openly gay.
He's actually very feminine. Not that that's a bad thing.
Openly acceptance of the fact that he was molested by priests.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go on any HBO. What's the name of that show that what's his name on HBO does? Bill Maher. The Bill Maher show. He's literally gone on there and said, I could thank the priest from my high school for raping me and touching me, for making me who I am today. So he's not only saying that I wasn't gay to begin with, I was gay because these people made me gay, and now he's ultra conservative. That's my opinion, people.
What?
And this is what he's ultimately said. You can do the research.
I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I didn't think of it like that. That makes him more of a contradicting asshole. It's like, it probably sends people who don't do a lot of research on this kind of crap, especially people on the right. It sends a message that, okay, if you're molested as a child, then a lot of those children who get molested are probably gay.
I mean, that's how it happens, right?
But that's not true.
It's not.
That's not true because I know personally people who have been molested are extremely heterosexual.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. I met people in college that were raped.
So it doesn't matter. I mean, I think that Milo and Herman and I were talking about this before. Is basically just
he's a character.
He's a character. He's figured it out. He knows how to make money.
He's a walking head.
And now he's made money, and now nobody likes him, and he's in financial trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what about that? That's shaping your balls. Let's get to the bottom of this for us.
Okay, you want me to keep reading?
No, I don't. I want you to give me your fucking passion. Give us. Let's get lost in your forest. Don't give us anything in the respect of that.
I fucking hate this guy. I hate the people who support him.
That's what I wanted to hear right there, Forrest. That's what we wanted to hear.
I hate the people who support him. I hate the fact that even if there's people in this side,
You're saying hate is it's not a specific, it's a general. You don't hate people.
No.
Right,
I mean, when I was younger, I did.
It's disgusting you. It makes you want to puke. Right.
Yeah. And it's what kind of, this has been bugging me for months, for many months. The fact that even people on the right who might not even care for this guy, they're not even saying like, oh, we have these people in our party who are representing all this crazy fucking shit. It's like maybe a slim percentage of that party is saying that. I believe so. But I mean, like, I have met conservatives that say that. They're like, oh, Tomi Lahren, this guy, they're all fucking idiots. they are representing a more extreme part of the Republican Party platform. But like, that's what just makes me so angry. It's like this guy is just a walking contradiction, and he has support. And I guess this is the age of technology is advancing. Everything's online. Everything is in video, audio, all that shit. So that's what makes me mad. Is that like he has the support because of, there's a lot of factors that come into it.
Right.
But he also, of course, has the backs of a lot of the political affiliates that pretty much are the majority of a GOP platform, and it's disgusting, especially with all these scandals coming out.
Forrest, thank you for admitting straight out, and give us a real true fire, the one that I've been looking for quite some time now. Is that I fucking hate this guy.
We know that it's in you.
We know it's in you. And what I want you to do is basically just give your fire, and thank you very much for that. And
thank you.
And you've opened it up to a real discussion. And what I have to say about this is that we have our own perspective here at the Darker Side. I have my own perspective. Rachel, you've got your perspective. John, you come from a different, perspective as well. And Forrest, obviously, you come from your perspective. Yeah. And what I've always wanted to do ultimately with this is basically just let people that there are angry people out there.
There is.
And Forrest has his perspective because he has come from a bullying background. He's, you're what we call homosexual.
Yeah.
You're a homo sapien. You love somebody regardless of the gender, and then and we have tons of these people in our society that
I've met tons of different.
I mean, we have in our society we have these people that are not like the rest of the heteronormative society that the government basically represents.
Just go to a community college.
And you give us that fire. You give us these thoughts to think about prospectively on this podcast. And this is what this segment is all about. It's not about giving you a liberal perspective.
Nope.
It's giving you a perspective of this is what the world is. This and what the world is actually happening. There are different perspectives. I have my background, and everybody has their background here. But we let Forrest get us lost in that brain of his.
I try to do what.
That's what getting lost in the forest is all about. And if you don't like that, if you don't like anything that Forrest has to say, please hit us up on the Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Hit us up at our Gmail, the Darkercide, DARKERCIDE @gmail.com. Hit us up. Let us know.
We'd love to talk about it.
We'd love to talk about it. We'd love to give
discuss.
any type, anything. We're opening a conversation about this perspective as a modern global darker side of our society, the injustices, the things that people aren't, the equality that we all should share in as human beings. Forrest, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
As always, getting lost in the forest is one of my favorite things that happens on this podcast.
Mine too now.
All right, guys. This has been the Darker Side, episode 5. Thank you so much for coming here, everybody. John, thank you so much for fucking stepping in today and giving us the story. And I really hope for this podcast, and I'm gonna put you on. I'm putting you on I'm putting you on point right now.
Yeah, baby, do it.
You come back. You come back and hit us. I know Rachel wants to hit us with a few research projects that she's got going on.
I've got
and I cannot wait for her to do this.
Got some fucked up.
And I hope that John comes back every week, because this is what I think this podcast has always been, in my opinion, is a group of us, intelligent people coming, giving their perspectives, and then just giving you guys the stories, again, the news stories, the creepypastas, and then diving deeper into the darker side, our movie review. And this is what I ultimately had in my mind for this podcast to be, this exact episode. It's going a lot longer than I ever thought. It's going to be close to a 2-hour episode.
It's cool,
but fucking did we have a good time today?
Oh,
it was
yeah,
amazing.
Absolutely,
I
right?
enjoyed myself.
All right.
I'm not going to lie. It was good.
I'm not going to lie.
Cheers. Cheers. Not going to lie. I forgot. We hadn't had a not going to lie for a long time. Thank you, John. All right, guys. My name is David POTTLE. This has been the Darker Side Podcast. We've had a wonderful time. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please like and subscribe to our platforms on iTunes and Google Play. And in those specific platforms, please write a review. We need your reviews.
Oh, definitely, please.
When you
iTunes.
write a review, it gives us the ability for people to look at that. When they look at the fact that they has 4.2 stars or 3.5 stars or whatever, please just review. If you don't like it, review it. If you love it, review it, please. But we need you to review it on Google Play. We need you to review it on so that we can continue doing this for you guys.
Ratings are everything.
Yeah, I want to see 0 stars from Milo.
Right. 0 stars Milo, 4 or 5 stars for the Darkercide
Even
podcast.
on Facebook, feel free to comment on our page.
Yes,
Exactly. Please do comment on our page. Hit us up on our Gmail. Anything that you bring up, we would love to discuss. The more we get in these topics, the more discussion we can have, the more open we can be about these things, the darker side of life, the creepy, the abnormal, the cryptids, the UFOs. I'm David POTTLE. You can find me on Facebook. You can find my band at Frenemy, Frenemy, Providence on Facebook. You can find my other podcast, Life, Relationships, and Everything in Between with Kevin Spurls. You can find that there. And honestly, guys, thank you very much for coming back. Always, we love you. Forrest, your plugs.
Hey guys, how's it going? I just want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank the listeners. I want to thank all that good stuff. Just please check us out. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Podbean. Please subscribe to us on Podbean. YouTube, iTunes podcasts. All that great stuff. I'm pretty confident sooner or later we're going to be on Spotify. It's going to be amazing. I love Spotify, so I get to listen to my shit in the morning after we produce it.
Well, that would be nice. After 2 more episodes, I think we might have the ability to be on Spotify.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited. All that great stuff. We want to have a conversation with you guys. If there's any topic you want to bring up, or you disagree, agree with us, whatever, you want to rate us, you want to put something on our page, even if you want to message us, please do. If you want to keep something confidential, we'll keep it confidential.
Yeah, just message us through Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. And or email, Darkercide, DARKERCIDE @gmail.com, the Darkercide podcast. All that great stuff. I think we're on Instagram now, although we don't really.
Yeah, neither one of us have a password still. It's been like 2 weeks.
I tried to do all the options it gives you, like Google Plus, log in with Facebook, and it's like what I don't know, confused.
You'll figure it out.
And then my company, Forest Films. It's on Facebook, YouTube, all that great stuff. It shouldn't be too hard to find. It's like crossbones and skulls and all that great shit. This is Forrest. I want to thank you all for listening and everyone being here. It's amazing. It's a pleasure being with all of you. It's awesome. And once again, feel free to comment on our page, rate us, all that great shit. We want to have a conversation. We do.
Rachel, do you have anything to plug? Plug yourself. Where can people find you, honey?
People can find me on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at social media. I can barely use Snapchat. I don't know how to use Instagram, but I am on Facebook. I can do that. So feel free to message me.
Rachel POTTLE. That's
Rachel,
RACHEL POTTLE.
Yeah, there's a Gordon thrown in there in between because, I was once not married to the host of the show. So hit me up there. I appreciate you guys having me here again.
Rachel, always a pleasure. We love you. You bring a ray of sunshine and a ray of intelligence to this podcast that is greatly needed.
Well, you better love me.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yes, we collectively, the I.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the And John Herrmann. John fucking Raymond Herrmann.
Fuck yeah, dude. Hit me up at Herrmann Brau on Instagram. That's HERRMANN, the German word for beer, BRAU. At Instagram, you want to see pictures of my dog, snowboarding, heavy metal shows, whatever the fuck.
Nice.
Come on down.
John is the master of hashtagging, too. So
nice. Hashtag.
He's going to
hashtag me, baby.
I love
hashtag me.
Too.
You'll find John at hashtag me. Guys, thank you so much for fucking delving deeper into the darker side with us. This is a podcast where we hit up the darkness, the macabre, all the spooky shit. We love you guys so much for hanging with us. Let's all dive deeper into the darker side.
The darker side. The darker side.